the August heat in Charleston, South Carolina, seemed to pause at the threshold of my grandmother's colonial home. Inside, the air conditioning hummed a steady rhythm beneath the sounds of celebration, clinking glasses, warm laughter, and the occasional burst of applause. Another relative stood to toast Grandma Rose's 90 years. I stood near the French doors, leading to the garden, watching my extended family move through the parlor like actors in a well-rehearsed play. Uncle James, red-faced from bourbon and sentiment, was midway through his third story about Grandma's legendary peach cobbler. My cousin's children darted between legs, their Sunday clothes already bearing evidence of chocolate cake. "Helena, sweetheart, you're hiding again." I turned to find Aunt Patricia, my father's sister, holding two glasses of champagne. She pressed one into my hand with a knowing smile. "You always did prefer the edges of things." "Just taking it all in," I said, accepting the glass. "It's not every day we celebrate 90 years. Patricia's eyes softened. "Your father would have loved this. He always said Mama would outlive us all." The mention of Dad brought the familiar ache. 2 years wasn't long enough to dull the edges of grief. I took a sip of champagne, letting the bubbles distract from the tightness in my throat. "Helena," Grandma Rose's voice cut through the party noise with surprising clarity. She stood near the staircase, her silver hair pinned in the same style she'd worn for decades, her lavender dress impeccable despite hours of hugs and congratulations. But something in her expression made my stomach tighten a gravity that didn't belong at a birthday party. "Could you help me with something upstairs, dear?" It wasn't really a question. I set down my glass and followed her, aware of the sudden weight of her hand on my arm as we climbed the stairs. Behind us, the party continued its cheerful rhythm, oblivious. Grandma's bedroom smelled of lavender sachets and old books. She closed the door with deliberate care, then turned to face me. In the muted light filtering through lace curtains, she looked every one of her 90 years. "Sit down, Helena." I perched on the edge of her four-poster bed, hands folded in my lap like I was 10 years old again, about to be scolded for climbing the magnolia tree in my church dress. Grandma moved to her secretary desk, each step measured. From a drawer, she withdrew a yellowed envelope. Her fingers trembled slightly as she held it. "Your father left this with me before he died. Made me promise to give it to you, but only when I thought you were ready." She paused, studying my face. "I'm old, Helena, too old to keep carrying other people's secrets." "Grandma, what are you talking about?" She crossed the room and pressed the envelope into my hands. My father's handwriting stared back at me, my name written in his careful script. "Your father left you a confession," she said, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. "And it's time you knew the truth." The envelope felt heavier than paper should. Through the thin material, I could feel the shape of folded pages inside. "I don't understand." Grandma Rose touched my cheek with one cool hand. "Read it when you're ready. Not here, not with all these people. Take it home. Think about whether you really want to know what's inside." Her blue eyes, faded but still sharp, held mine. "Because once you know, Helena, you can't unknow, and some truths, they change everything." A burst of laughter from downstairs broke the spell. Grandma straightened, smoothing her dress. "We should get back. They wonder where the birthday girl went." She moved toward the door, then paused. "Whatever you decide, remember that your father loved you." That was never a lie. I followed her back to the party, the envelope hidden in my purse, burning against my hip with every step. The rest of the celebration passed in a blur. I smiled, I toasted, I helped serve cake, all while my father's last words waited in the darkness of my bag. It was past midnight when I finally sat at my kitchen table, the envelope before me. Rain had started, drumming against the windows of my apartment. I'd driven the 40 minutes home from Charleston on autopilot, my mind cycling through possibilities. What could my father have needed to confess? He'd been the steadiest person I knew, an accountant who color-coded his files, a husband who brought my mother flowers every Friday for 37 years, a father who never missed a school play or softball game. I slid my finger under the envelope's seal. Inside were 3 pages, covered in my father's precise handwriting. My hands shook as I unfolded them. "My dearest Helena, if you're reading this, then I'm gone and Mama has decided you're ready for the truth. I'm sorry I didn't have the courage to tell you myself. Cowardice, it seems, is a family trait. You are not the daughter of the woman who raised you. The words blurred. I blinked hard, forced myself to keep reading. Your biological mother's name is Sarah Chen. She lives in Millbrook, Georgia, or at least she did when I last had contact with her. 23 years ago. The woman you've called Mom all your life, Margaret, is actually your father's sister. Yes, Helena. I'm not your biological father either. I pushed back from the table, my chair scraping against the floor. This had to be some kind of mistake, a delusion brought on by the cancer. Maybe the medications. But the letter continued, each word in my father's unmistakable hand, each detail too specific to be fantasy. Your biological father was my brother, Daniel. You never met him. He died in a car accident when you were 6 months old. Sarah was only 19, alone, and desperate. Margaret couldn't have children. It seemed like a solution that would help everyone. But nothing is ever that simple. There was money involved. An inheritance from your biological grandfather that would only pass to Daniel's legitimate children. Margaret wanted a baby. The family wanted to keep the money. Sarah was young and frightened, and we convinced her it was best for everyone. We were wrong. The letter went on, detailing dates, amounts, the legal manipulations that transferred custody, the payments made to ensure Sarah's silence. My father's shame bled through every word. I've included Sarah's last known address and phone number. She may not want to hear from you. She may have moved on, built a new life. But you deserve the choice we took from both of you. Please forgive us, Helena. We told ourselves we were protecting you, giving you a better life. But secrets have a way of poisoning everything they touch. You deserve the truth from the beginning. Whatever you decide to do with this information, know that you are loved. That part was always real. That I sat in my kitchen as the rain intensified, reading and rereading the letter until the words burned themselves into my memory. Everything I thought I knew about my life had just shattered like glass, leaving me to navigate the sharp edges of a truth I'd never asked for. But Grandma Rose was right. Now that I knew, I couldn't unknow. And somewhere in a small Georgia town, a woman named Sarah Chen might be wondering what happened to the daughter she gave away 26 years ago. Chapter 2. The letter's truth. The coffee shop on King Street was nearly empty at 7 a.m. I'd chosen a deliberately neutral ground, public enough to keep emotions in check, private enough for the conversation I needed to have. Aunt Patricia arrived 15 minutes late, her usually perfect appearance slightly disheveled. Helena, what's this about? Your message sounded urgent. I slid the letter across the table, watched her face change as she read, the color draining from her carefully made-up cheeks. Oh, God, Mama gave it to you. You knew. It wasn't a question. Patricia's hands shook as she set down the pages. We all knew. Your grandparents, your father, me, Uncle James, even your mother Margaret. She caught herself. The woman who raised you. Don't. My voice came out sharper than intended. Don't try to soften this. I need the truth. All of it. Patricia signaled the waitress for coffee, buying time. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely above a whisper. Daniel was the golden child. Handsome, charming, reckless. When he brought Sarah home, Mama nearly had a heart attack. A Chinese girl from California, an art student with no family money, no connections. She stirred sugar into her coffee with mechanical precision. But Daniel was in love. They got married at the courthouse without telling anyone. And then Margaret found out she couldn't have children. The doctors ran every test, tried every treatment. It broke her. And there was the trust fund. Your grandfather had set it up so that only biological grandchildren could inherit. Very specific language, very old-fashioned. The pieces were falling into place with sickening clarity. So, when Daniel died, Sarah was for months pregnant, alone in a state where she knew no one except the family that had rejected her. Margaret saw an opportunity. Patricia's voice turned bitter. She made it sound so reasonable. Sarah was young, had no money, no support system. Margaret and Robert could give you everything: private schools, college, stability. All Sarah had to do was sign some papers and start over. She sold me. No. Patricia reached across the table, but I pulled back. No, Helena. Sarah loved you. I could see it in her eyes when she handed you over. She thought she was doing what was best for you. How much? What? How much money did you give her? Patricia closed her eyes. $50,000 and a car. Enough to go back to California and finish art school. I laughed, a harsh sound that made the barista look over. 50,000. That's what I was worth. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? I stood, unable to sit still any longer, because from where I'm standing, it looks like you all bought a baby to keep money in the family. And then you lied about it for 26 years. We thought we were protecting you. From what? From knowing who I really am. From having a relationship with my biological mother. Patricia's composure finally cracked from the pain. From feeling abandoned, unwanted. From growing up knowing your birth mother chose money over you. We wanted you to feel loved, secure, by lying to me every single day of my life. The coffee shop had filled while we talked. Normal people living normal lives, unaware that my world was imploding 3 feet away. I gathered the letter, folding it carefully. Helena, please, talk to your mother. Let her explain. Which mother? I asked. The one who bought me or the one who sold me? I left Patricia crying into her coffee. Back in my apartment, I called in sick to work and began my search. Sarah Chen, such a common name. But the details in my father's letter narrowed it down. Millbrook, Georgia. Population 3,847. Small enough that someone would remember a young Chinese woman who'd lived there 20 years ago. My laptop became my lifeline. Property records, phone directories, social media searches. By noon, I'd found 3 possible matches. By 2, I'd eliminated 2 of them. By 4, I was staring at a Facebook profile that made my heart stop. Sarah Chen Morrison, age 45, owner of Chen's Garden Gallery in downtown Millbrook, married to Paul Morrison, 2 teenage children, a boy and a girl, who looked nothing like me. But Sarah Sarah looked exactly like me. Or rather, I looked exactly like her. Same angular cheekbones, same slightly upturned eyes, same stubborn chin. It was like looking at myself in 20 years. Her gallery had a website, delicate watercolors of southern landscapes, infused with an Asian aesthetic that should have been jarring, but somehow worked perfectly. Beautiful, successful, the life she'd built after giving me away. I closed the laptop and poured myself wine with shaking hands. Outside, Charleston was moving into evening, the summer heat finally breaking. I should have been at my grandmother's house for Sunday dinner, pretending everything was normal. Instead, I was mapping the route to Millbrook, Georgia. My phone buzzed, a text from my mother Margaret, the woman who'd raised me. Please come home, we need to talk. I deleted it without responding. Another buzz. This time, Uncle James. Your aunt told me you know. I'm sorry, Helena, we all are. Delete. The phone rang. Grandma rose. I almost didn't answer, but something in me couldn't ignore her call. You're not coming to dinner, she said without preamble. No. Good. You need time to process. Have you decided what you're going to do? I looked at the map still open on my phone. Millbrook was 3 hours away. I could leave tonight, be there when the gallery opened in the morning. I don't know. That's honest. At least. Grandma paused. Helena, I know you're angry. You have every right to be. But remember, your father wasn't the only one who kept this secret. We all did. And we all had our reasons, even if they were wrong. Why are you defending them? I'm not. I'm just reminding you that people are complicated. Sarah was complicated. The situation was complicated. Try to remember that when you meet her. How do you know I'm going to meet her? Because you're your father's daughter. He could never leave well enough alone either. After we hung up, I sat in the gathering darkness, surrounded by the debris of my research. Printouts, notes, maps, evidence of the life I'd never known existed. I thought about the woman in those photos. Sarah Chen Morrison, with her successful business and beautiful family. Did she ever think about me? Did she regret her choice? Or had I been easy to forget, a mistake from her youth, corrected with $50,000 and a signature? There was only one way to find out. I pulled out my suitcase and began to pack. Tomorrow, I would drive to Millbrook, I would walk into Chen's garden gallery, and I would finally meet the woman who gave me away. The rain had stopped, leaving the air clean and charged with possibility. Or maybe that was just the feeling of a life about to change, the electric moment before lightning strikes. Either way, by tomorrow night, I would know the truth, the whole truth. And maybe, finally, I would know who I really was. Chapter 3. The search. The drive to Millbrook took me through the heart of Georgia, past pine forests and small towns that seemed frozen in time. I'd left Charleston before dawn, unable to sleep, unable to eat, running on coffee and adrenaline. My phone sat silent in the passenger seat. I'd turned it off after the 15th call from Margaret. Millbrook announced itself with a water tower painted like a peach and a welcome sign that proclaimed it the friendliest town in Georgia. Main Street looked like a movie set. Antique shops, an old-fashioned diner, a barber shop with an actual spinning pole. And there, between a bakery and a bookstore, Chen's garden gallery, I parked across the street and sat in my car, engine off, watching. The gallery had large windows displaying watercolor paintings. Through the glass, I could see someone moving around inside, adjusting frames, watering plants. Sarah, my biological mother, wore jeans and a paint-stained smock, her black hair pulled back in a messy bun. She moved with easy grace, comfortable in her space, unaware that her past was sitting 50 feet away, trying to find the courage to cross the street. A bell chimed as I pushed open the door. Sarah looked up from behind the counter, professional smile ready. "Good morning. Welcome to." The words died. Her face went through a series of expressions: confusion, recognition, shock, fear before settling into a careful blankness. "Can I help you?" Her voice was steady, but her hands gripped the edge of the counter. "I think you know who I am." She closed her eyes briefly. When she opened them, tears had gathered at the corners. "Helena?" "Yes. How did you?" She stopped, took a breath. "Of course. Robert must have told you." "Is he?" "He died 2 years ago. Left me a letter explaining everything." Sarah's legs seemed to give out. She sank onto a stool behind the counter. 2 years, and you're just now. My grandmother just gave me the letter, on her birthday. Apparently, she thought it was time. Rose. Sarah's voice held something I couldn't identify. She never approved of any of it. Said secrets had a way of rotting families from the inside out. She was right. Sarah studied me with an artist's eye, taking in every detail. "You look like him, Daniel. Same eyes, same stubborn set to your jaw. But your hands ... She gestured to where my fingers drummed nervously against my leg. "Those are mine. I do the same thing when I'm anxious." The bell chimed again. A middle-aged woman entered, took one look at Sarah's face, and backed out with a murmured, "I'll come back later. I should put up the closed sign," Sarah said, but made no move to do so. "Are you afraid someone will see us together?" "No," she said. Walked to the door, flipped the sign. "I'm afraid you'll leave before I can explain. You have a family. Other children." "Yes. Jason is 17. Lily is 15. They don't know about you." She returned to the counter, maintaining distance between us. "My husband knows, Paul. I told him before we got married. He said everyone deserves a second chance. Is that what I was? A mistake you needed a second chance from?" "No." The word came out fierce. "No, Helena. You were never a mistake. Giving you up was the mistake. One I've regretted every day for 26 years. Then why did you do it?" Sarah moved to the window, staring out at Millbrook's quiet morning. "I was 19. Daniel was dead. His family ... She laughed bitterly. "They made it clear I wasn't welcome. Except for Margaret. She was so kind, so understanding. She said she wanted to help, by taking your baby, by offering you a life I couldn't give you. I had no money, no family, no home. I was staying in a motel, working at a truck stop to pay for prenatal vitamins. Margaret showed up one day with Robert. They looked so ... stable, successful. They showed me pictures of the house where you'd grow up, the schools you'd attend, all the things Daniel had promised but could never deliver, and the money." Sarah's shoulders tensed. "They said it was to help me start over, get back to school, make something of myself so that maybe someday ... She turned to face me. They promised I could be part of your life. Letters, pictures, visits when you were older. They promised, but once the papers were signed, everything changed. The letters I sent came back unopened. The phone number they gave me was disconnected. I hired a lawyer with the last of the money, but he said the adoption was ironclad. No contact until you were 18, and only if you initiated it. I'm 26. I know. I've known exactly how old you were every single day. She moved closer, stopping just out of reach. I hired a private investigator when you turned 18, just to know you were okay. He sent me your high school graduation photo. You look so happy, so confident. Everything I'd hoped you'd be. Why didn't you contact me? Because Margaret had given you a good life. You were in college, pre-med at Duke. You had friends, a boyfriend, a future. What right did I have to disrupt that? To show up and say, "Hi, I'm the mother who gave you away." You had every right. I had the right to know. Yes, you did. But I was a coward. Just like they were. We stood there, two strangers connected by blood and betrayal, neither knowing how to bridge 26 years of absence. Finally, Sarah moved behind the counter again, pulling out a large portfolio. Would you like to see them? See what? She opened the portfolio carefully. Inside were paintings, dozens of them, all variations of the same subject: a baby, a toddler, a young girl, growing up in watercolor, aging in brush strokes. I painted you every year on your birthday. What I imagined you looked like, what you might be doing. This one, she touched a painting of a girl in a cap and gown. I did the day the investigator sent your graduation photo. I was so close. The paintings blurred as tears finally came. You thought about me. Every day. Every single day. When Jason was born. When Lily took her first steps. At every milestone. I thought about what I'd miss with you. What I'd given away. For $50,000. Sarah flinched. The money never mattered. I used it for school. Yes, but mostly, and just wanted you to have a good life. Margaret promised, and Margaret lied. They all lied. To both of us? Yes. I wiped my eyes, suddenly exhausted. The adrenaline that had carried me here was fading, leaving behind a bone-deep weariness. What happens now? Sarah asked. I don't know. I've spent 2 days discovering my entire life is built on lies. I drove here thinking I'd be angry, that I'd confront you and demand answers, and then leave. But now Now I just feel lost. Sarah reached out tentatively, her fingers barely brushing my hand. You're not lost. You're just finding a different map. The bell chimed. A man entered, tall, graying at the temples, wearing a sheriff's uniform. Sarah, I saw the closed sign. Everything okay? His eyes moved between us, taking in Sarah's tears, my obvious distress. Paul, Sarah said, this is Helena. Understanding dawned on his face. Oh, Sarah. He crossed to his wife, wrapping an arm around her shoulders. Hello, Helena. I'm glad you found us. Your mother Sarah, she's talked about you. Hoped you'd come looking someday. I'm not here to disrupt your lives. I just needed answers. Paul studied me with cop eyes, seeing more than I probably wanted to share. You've got family in Charleston, the Hamiltons. You know them. Sarah made me promise to keep an eye on the news from Charleston. Just in case. We saw your father's obituary. Sarah wanted to go to the funeral. But she didn't know if I knew. If I'd want her there. Something like that. Sarah pulled away from Paul, moving toward me with new determination. Helena, I know this is overwhelming, but would you Would you like to have lunch? Just talk. No pressure. No expectations. Just talk. I thought about the family I'd left behind in Charleston. The missed calls, the unanswered texts. They'd want explanations, apologies, forgiveness. But here, in this gallery filled with paintings of the daughter she'd lost, stood the woman who'd given me away and spent 26 years regretting it. Yes, I said. I'd like that. Sarah's smile was tentative but real. There's a cafe around the corner. Neutral ground. Actually, Paul interjected. Why don't you both come to the house? The kids are at school. You'll have privacy. And Sarah, you'll feel more comfortable there. Sarah looked at me, questioning. I nodded. As we prepared to leave, I stopped at the portfolio of paintings. What were you going to do with these? I don't know. Hope, maybe, that someday I'd be able to give them to you. To show you that even though I let you go, I never let you go. I touched the most recent painting me as Sarah imagined I'd look now. She'd gotten it almost right. Almost. Bring them, I said. I want to see them all. We left the gallery together, Sarah locking up with shaking hands. Paul's cruiser was parked out front, but we took Sarah's car, leaving mine on Main Street like a promise I'd come back. The drive to their house was short, filled with Sarah pointing out landmarks: the school where she taught art classes, the park where Jason played baseball, the library where Lily volunteered, building a picture of the life she'd built after me. Are you happy? I asked suddenly. Sarah glanced at me, surprised. Yes, it took a long time. But, yes. Are you? I thought about my life in Charleston, my job at the medical research lab, my apartment overlooking the harbor, my friends who didn't know my real name, the family built on lies who loved me anyway. I don't know anymore. That's honest. My grandmother said the same thing. Rose Hamilton always did see things clearly. Even when everyone else preferred the comfortable lies, we pulled into a driveway lined with azaleas. The house was modest but welcoming, with a wraparound porch and wind chimes singing in the breeze. Normal, stable, everything Sarah hadn't had when she was 19 and pregnant and alone. Inside, the walls were covered with art: Sarah's paintings mixed with her children's drawings, family photos, a life documented in color and light. I found myself searching the photos for some sign of me, some empty space where I should have been. Tea, Sarah offered, or something stronger. I think I have wine. Tea is fine. She busied herself in the kitchen while Paul excused himself to give us privacy. I wandered the living room, stopping at a photo of Jason and Lily at the beach. My half-siblings, who didn't know I existed. They're good kids, Sarah said, returning with 2 mugs. Jason wants to be an engineer. Lily's convinced she's going to write the next great American novel. Do you think you'll tell them? About me? Do you want me to? I don't know. This is also ... complicated. I was going to say surreal. We sat on opposite ends of the couch, tea cooling between us. The portfolio of paintings lay on the coffee table like evidence in a trial. Can I ask you something? Sarah said. Your parents, the people who raised you, were they good to you? Yes. They loved me. Margaret was ... she was a good mother. Strict, but fair. Came to every recital, every game. Dad Robert, he taught me to ride a bike, to drive, to do my taxes. They were good parents. I'm glad. Are you? Yes. It makes it easier, knowing you were loved, that whatever else they did, they gave you that. But it was all built on a lie. Sarah set down her mug carefully. Helena, can I tell you something I learned? Sometimes good people do wrong things for what they think are right reasons. Your parents, all of them, thought they were protecting you from poverty, from uncertainty, from feeling unwanted. They were wrong to lie, but the love, that was real. How can you defend them? They kept us apart, because I've had 26 years to be angry, and it's exhausting. I've had 26 years to think about what I would have done differently, and honestly, at 19, alone and scared, I might have made the same choice. The real betrayal was after the broken promises, the closed doors. That's what I can't forgive. My father's letter said he was sorry. Robert was always the weakest of them. Kind but weak. He probably wanted to tell you years ago. Why didn't he? Margaret? I'd guess. She had the most to lose if you knew the truth. We talked through the afternoon, filling in the gaps. Sarah told me about meeting Daniel in art class, their whirlwind romance, the car accident that took him 3 days after they'd found out about the pregnancy. I told her about growing up in Charleston, medical school applications I'd abandoned, the research job I'd taken instead. Why didn't you become a doctor? She asked. I realized I was doing it for them, to make them proud. When Dad got sick, I just ... stopped pretending it was what I wanted. What do you want? I used to think I knew. Now, I have no idea. The sound of a school bus broke the intimate bubble we'd created. Sarah tensed. That's Lily. Jason has practice. Won't be home until dinner. I should go. You don't have to. You could meet her. We don't have to tell her who you are, just that you're A friend, but I was already standing, gathering my things. I'm not ready. I'm sorry. Don't apologize. It's a lot. I understand. At the door, we stood awkwardly, neither sure how to say goodbye. Finally, Sarah reached into her pocket and pulled out a business card. My cell is on there, and my email, if you want to talk more. Or if you don't, whatever you need. Sarah double quotes, I know I have no right to ask for anything. But could you could you let me know you're okay? Now that I know you know. I'll worry. Yes, I'll let you know. She walked me to the car, Paul's cruiser now in the driveway. Through the window, I could see a teenage girl in the kitchen. Dark hair like Sarah's, like mine. She looks like you, I said. She looks like you too. Daniel's eyes, just like yours. I drove away as the sun set over Millbrook, painting the sky in shades of peach and gold. In my rearview mirror, I could see Sarah still standing in the driveway, watching until I turned the corner and disappeared. My phone, when I finally turned it on, showed 47 missed calls, 23 voicemails, 60 to text messages. The Hamilton family in full crisis mode. But I didn't drive back to Charleston. Instead, I found a motel on the highway, paid cash, and lay on the scratchy bedspread staring at the water-stained ceiling. Tomorrow, I would have to face them. Margaret's tears, Patricia's justifications, the family narrative rebuilding itself around this revealed truth. But tonight, I just wanted to sit with what I'd learned. Sarah Chan had loved me, had wanted me, had painted me into existence year after year, birthday after birthday. The money hadn't mattered, not really. She'd been a scared kid who thought she was doing the right thing, trusting the wrong people. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. Thank you for coming. Thank you for letting me see who you've become. You're everything I hoped you'd be. I typed back, I'll call you tomorrow. Then I turned off the phone again and closed my eyes, trying to reconcile the mother who'd raised me with the mother who'd painted me, the family who'd lied with the family who'd loved. Tomorrow would bring confrontations and difficult conversations, but tonight,